Okay, first game of the week, Thursday Night Football. Big matchup between the Packers and the Lions. Packers coming off of a really impressive win at home against the Dolphins, 30-17 victory against Tua and company. Green Bay is 9-3. That puts them in the driver's seat for a wild card, but due to the Lions, man, it's not like they have this division locked up. They're a couple games behind them, and so for the Lions, they don't necessarily need this victory for divisional implications, but what they do need this victory for, BJ, is they're in the rat race for the first seed in the NFC. They're fighting with the Eagles and the Vikings in that race. So big win right here would kind of lock up, would put them in the driver's seat for the 1 seed in the NFC side as we're a couple weeks out of playoffs. So big game for multiple different reasons. I know both teams, aside from the implications, would just love the win for the sake of divisional rivalries. So 2 juggernauts going to go head-to-head in Detroit. It is a dome game, so no weather that we have to worry about. Detroit Lions are 3.5-point home favorites, Beach. But one thing we have to say, we have to point out the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. You could argue that up until this point of the season, they have lost arguably 8 starters, most of those guys on IR just due to injury. The biggest ones being Aiden Hutchinson, Alex Anzalone. They have a lot of secondary guys that have dropped down. They're, in and out. We don't even really know what's going on back there. So that is something we want to point out as we talk about this game is the Lions, they are a juggernaut. They are a powerhouse of a team, but the injuries on the defensive side of the ball is going to be hard to overcome. So they're going to really have to rely on the offense to control the clock, make sure they don't allow the Packers to have the ball too much, and really kind of mitigate some of the errors that the defense probably is going to make against this really, really strong Green Bay team. So, BJ, how worried are you about this Detroit Lions defense? Are you in a panic mode, or do you think they can overcome this? What do you think?
I'm not too worried, strictly from what you just said about they're going to have to rely on their offense to control the clock, and I think they can do that. Last year their defense was worse than what it is this year, and they still, I don't know how many wins they had last year. 9? Did they get to 10 in the regular season?
Lions? You talking about the Lions? Yeah.
So the defense doesn't have to be great to for them to win football games, and I'm definitely more worried than I would be if they weren't injured. I think the Packers are going to be able to spark some big plays in this game, but I do believe that the Lions have a good enough rushing attack to control the clock, control the game, kind of do what they want, and I think the Lions end up winning this game because of that. But I do think it'll be a really close game.
Yeah. So, BJ, we're both thinking that this is going to be a close game. That's not out of the question. But you like the Packers to cover, but the Lions to win, and a fun one. I have the Packers covering and winning outright. Now, I'm not I am, confident in my analysis here and how I think this game is going to roll down. But I don't think the Packers go in here and just absolutely take it to Detroit. I think Detroit obviously is going to be could very well drive this game in every which way. But looking at how both teams performed last week, one thing we noticed with the Detroit Lions is they really felt the effects of their missing starters on the defensive side of the ball. Their numbers still look pretty good, but on the defensive side of the ball, their numbers are starting to falter a little bit. They're back down to 7th overall in EPA per play and 21st overall in defensive success rate on the year. So those numbers are skewing downwards just due to the lack of defensive efficiency on the side of the ball. They really give it up in the air. They're 27th in the league in passing yards per game allowed. They give up nearly 270 passing yards per game. This really might open the doors for Jordan Love to air it out. He's got a slew of receivers that can catch the ball and make big plays at any given moment. So I look at what the Bears were able to do with a incompetent head coach nonetheless. Eberflus was fired. That was some of the big news out of Week 13. But you look at what the Bears were able to do against this Detroit team. They were able to show up and make big plays when they needed to, more so in the second half. But they put it on film that Detroit can be beat. And so I think the key to success here is the Packers coming out, firing first, kind of playing Detroit's game, being the ones to control the clock, being the ones to utilize both sides of their game, really leverage the play action to make the younger guys and the backups that are in to make more mistakes on the defensive side of the ball. Green Bay offense, really solid 10th overall in EPA per play, adjusted 20th overall in success rate on the offensive side of the ball. They can air it out. That's no success. They're also running the ball really, really well. Josh Jacobs having a career year. They're second overall in rushing yards per game, averaging 167 yards on the ground. So I really like this offense to come in here and make a splash. I think it's going to be close because you look at what Detroit's offense is doing. They're doing, even better than that. Detroit, third overall in EPA per play, third overall in offensive success rate. They're top 5 in both passing and rushing metrics. It's going to be hard, to stop that. So it's going to be, what can the Green Bay offense do to kind of project ahead of this Detroit offense as well? And so it's going to be a rat race. I don't want to say there's going to be a lot of points scored here because I think that a lot of teams like to bleed the clock out, but I don't think there's going to be hardly any 3 and outs. That's for sure. So, BJ, if you're Green Bay and you're their defense, what's your first point of attack here? What's your game plan going into this game? How do you decide who you want to stop?
If I'm Green Bay's defense?
I'm
stopping the run. I'm stopping the run. I'm stopping the run because if the Lions can run on you, then, big plays are bound to happen on play action and with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So if you can stymie the run, then I think that the Packers are well enough on the back end to be able to stop the Lions offense. But that's what I would, if they can't do that, I think the Lions will win this game.
Mm-hmm. Now, they are better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. One thing they do is they make explosive plays on the defensive side of the ball. They have big-time plays, but they're not very consistent right now. You can still kind of hit them more consistently and garner up some yardage and some points against Green Bay's defense, but they're certainly better at stopping the rush than they are the pass. But to me, it's going to be, what's the happy medium? Do you send the house after Jared Goff and try and load the box and stop the run? Well, then you have guys like Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams and Samuel Portis seems to be back on the scene. So it's going to be tough sledding here. The model has the Packers 22.5, the Lions 24. So it likes the Packers to cover, Lions to win, right where you had a BJ. It's going to be tough, man. The numbers paint a beautiful picture for a very, very fun game. And if you just love the mechanics of football and the tacticals, it's going to be a beautiful game. I don't think it's going to be the game that everybody expects it to. Everybody's going to be like, 31-30, points scored everywhere. I just don't see it being like that because the way that these two teams play the game of football, they go relatively slow, And so I'm anticipating this game. I don't have a take either which way on the over or under, but I do like both of these offenses to find success, and it very well, more than likely, will be who has the ball last and who's more consistently successful and who can just get that 1 or 2 defensive stops when it matters the most. I think that'll be the game. I think the Packers are just healthier right now, and I think they really, really need this game. So, Packers, buckle it in.
They need this game to muddy up the division a little more. They've got three of the top teams in the NFC in that division.
Yeah, it's very, very improbable. But if dominoes were to fall this way, they theoretically could, by the last week of the season, jump the Lions if the Lions have some sort of collapse end of season. But yeah, no, the Lions are comfortably ahead in terms of divisional race. So now they're really just planning for seeding. So it's going to be a fun game.